Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege, as it is every day, guys, to have you guys joining me as we, a bunch of friends, talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all that sort of stuff, a little bit of television thrown in here and there as well. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to tell you, though, right off the top, I told this story the other day, but I got to mention it again, because I just think this is wild. I'm going to go see the new Fantastic Beasts tonight. So I'm going to go off and see that. I'll let you guys know what I think about it. Now, I used to think that, being a hardcore Star Wars fan that I am, that, I drove across the country to go watch The Phantom Menace when it was first coming out in my favorite movie theater, which was up in Hamilton, Ontario. But I might have just been one-upped, because I've got a +1 for my screening of Fantastic Beasts tonight, and I put out on social media, hey, who wants to go to this? And Cody Miller, the Olympic gold medal swimmer, you've seen him on this show and on others before, he gets a hold of me and says, dude, I will fly from Indiana to fly into LA for one night to come to go see that movie, because both Cody and his wife, Allie, are massive Potter fans, like some of the biggest Potter fans I've ever seen. And so he should be landing in about an hour, and then we're going to go off and see Fantastic Beasts tonight. Why? Just because what lengths will we as movie fans not go to go see our favorite movies? Seriously, as movie fans, we will do some psychotic things, and I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's get on now with the stuff going on in the world of movies, and we're going to start off with this. Yesterday, we talked about the fact that news came out that Gilliam is going to be doing a Breaking Bad movie, right? What wasn't so clear at the time in the initial reports is, what was this Breaking Bad movie going to be about? Was it going to be a prequel to Breaking Bad? Was it going to be something entirely different, just set in the same universe, but with a new set of characters? Remember, there was that one little log line that came out that said it's going to follow a kidnapped guy now seeking freedom, whatever. That was very, very, very vague. However, we may now know what this movie is going to be about. Our friends over at Slash Film, they claim to have uncovered exclusively that the movie is going to be following Jesse after, and it will take place after the events of the series finale. That's what they're saying. And the kidnapped guy, if you watch Breaking Bad, you know that Jesse does fall into that category. And him now getting away, because the end of Breaking Bad really did leave it very ambiguous. Like, what's going to happen? Because Jesse was not free and clear by any stretch of imagination. We never know what happened to him after that. Well, apparently, according to Slash Film, that's what this movie is going to cover. Now, Slash Film went on and they wrote the following. They said, the newly announced Breaking Bad movie will be a sequel set after the events of the series finale, following Jesse as he blazes a trail away from that horrifying finale. Now, of course, you guys who saw the series finale of Breaking Bad know that he got away from those neo-Nazis that were forcing him to make the heroin, right? So he gets away and ends with that incredible scene of him in the car, like laughing and crying and screaming all at the same time. Like it was a powerful, powerful visual, powerful moment in that movie, or in that show, and I thought that was great. Now, also according to these reports, because the other thing we didn't know from the initial report that came out yesterday was, well, when they say a Breaking Bad movie, is this going to be theatrical, or is it going to be made for TV? Apparently, according to this report in Slash Film, they're saying it is going to be made for TV. Sony Television is producing it. They will probably put it on AMC. So that's what it looks like right now. So, my question to you guys, are you guys excited about a Breaking Bad movie that takes place after the events of the finale, following what happens with Jesse? Jump down to the comment section, and if you got something else you wish it was about, let me know what your thoughts are on that as well. Let me know what you wish a Breaking Bad movie would be about. Whether it will be about Jesse, we'll have to wait and see. All right, now let's move on to this. A brand new trailer dropped today for the upcoming, not Jungle Book, but Mowgli movie. Of course, you guys know Andy Serkis, who, of course, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, motion capture actor in the world. Andy Serkis has directed his own version of the Jungle Book movie called Mowgli. It's supposed to be a little grittier. It's supposed to be a little bit more in tune with the original story. At any rate, we've known for a while that the studio dropped it and they dished it off to Netflix. So it became a Netflix film. Now we know the release date. The Netflix film will release in December. However, what we also now know is they are going to put it in theaters in what they're calling select theaters. Now, normally what happens when you hear the term select theaters, what that generally means is it's probably going to play in about 10 movie theaters. Like limited release means 1, 2, 3, 400 screens across the country. Not a wide release, not a 2,000 screen wide release, but a limited release usually means 100, couple hundred, whatever. When usually they say select theaters, that can mean anywhere as few as 1 or 2 theaters, like one movie theater in LA, one movie theater in New York. Could mean 10 theaters, could mean 20, could mean 30. But bottom line is there's going to be a lot of you in the United States that, or anywhere in the world, that when they do this select theaters release of Mowgli, it's not going to be playing anywhere near you. Odds are it's not going to be playing anywhere near you. So that's fine. But it is going to be coming out in December. Let's talk about the trailer. So they put out the new trailer, and man, I'll tell you what, I was worried about feeling this way, and I have to admit, I felt this way. I felt like I was watching a knockoff version of Jon Favreau's Jungle Book. I didn't want to feel that way, because you guys know how much I adore Andy Serkis. I didn't want to feel that way. You know what it felt like to me? Here's what it feels like to me. It feels like a much better quality Asylum movie. You know what Asylum is? That studio that makes all those knockoff movies? Like instead of Snakes on a Plane, they made Snakes on a Train. Instead of Transformers, they made Transmorphers. And they're also the studio behind Sharknado, by the way. And they made hundreds of these like knockoff movies. I didn't want to feel this way, but I will admit it is the sense I got. Watching this new Mowgli trailer that dropped today, it kind of felt like I was watching an Asylum trailer. It did. Except a much more higher budget Asylum trailer. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look bad. It actually looks quite good. I kind of like the different take on the bear. I like the different take on a few things, but it really just did feel like the Jungle Book. Now, that's not to say that the movie will. Like, remember, Andy Serkis did not put the trailer together. Directors don't put the trailers together. Marketing departments do that. So just because the trailer feels that way, that doesn't necessarily mean the movie's going to feel that way. The movie itself could feel very fresh and a very original take on the story, all that kind of stuff. One of the things we did see in this trailer, though, that is a decided difference from the Jon Favreau Jungle Book movie was it seems like more of this story is going to focus around his human existence. It seems like there's going to be a much heavier piece of the puzzle is going to be weighed towards the human story. Like we saw one of the most beautiful women ever to walk the face of the earth, Frida Pinto, is in it. Oh, I got to interview her once and I almost couldn't speak. It's like you're standing in front of the most beautiful piece of art hanging in an amazing gallery and you're just like awestruck for a second. You don't know what to say or do. Like Frida Pinto is so beautiful. You're just staggered for a second when you meet her in person, but at any rate. We see her in the trailer. I think we're going to see a lot more of the story of him going into the human village, so it's probably going to weigh more that way. How much this film will be able to differentiate itself from that Jon Favreau Jungle Book movie is really going to be the deciding factor as to whether this film works. If it just feels like a cheap knockoff of Jungle Book, it fails. If it can make some marked DNA differences between itself to make it feel like a very different film from that, then it succeeds. We're going to have to wait and see. It's too bad it's not getting a theatrical release, but who knows, maybe we'll watch on Netflix and realize, oh, this is why I didn't get a theatrical release. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, with that off the top stuff out of the way, let's go in now and talk about our main topics today. How do we select our main topics? Well, it's really quite simple. You guys select them by emailing your topics and questions to me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line of your email so I know that you're sending in an email for the show. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Alan Covarrubias. I know I'm butchering your name, Alan. Sorry about that. And Alan writes, I read Taron Egerton won't be appearing in Kingsman 3. If this is true, do you think Kingsman 3 will happen after losing its star, declining box office sales, and less critics liking the sequel? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, a report did come out. What he's talking about, a report came out. See, Taron Egerton is right now he's promoting his new film Robin Hood, which I'm sure none of you are going to see. So he's promoting his new Robin Hood movie, desperately trying to get people to go see it. And in an interview, I believe it was with Yahoo Movies, he was asked specifically about Kingsman and the future of Kingsman. And one of the things that Taron Egerton actually revealed is that he's not going to be in the next Kingsman movie. He said he's not going to be in it. Now, just to be clear here, though, he didn't say he wasn't in Kingsman 3. Here's what Taron Egerton had to say specifically. He said this, I'm not in the new Kingsman. Notice he didn't say Kingsman 3. He said, I'm not in the new Kingsman. That doesn't mean I won't ever be in Kingsman ever again. I was with Matthew. He's talking about Matthew Vaughn, the director. I was with Matthew as little as a few days ago. I've got a missed call from him this morning. We're very much still in business together. It's just that his next journey in that universe doesn't involve me. Okay. This isn't just a matter of semantics, or at least it might not be. When he says he's not in the next Kingsman movie, that could mean a couple of things. One, it could mean that he's not in Kingsman 3. That is one of the possibilities. It could mean he's not in Kingsman 3. However, there's another possibility here that seems more likely. And that is that the next Kingsman movie is not Kingsman 3. Well, John, what do you mean? Well, a little while ago, there were some reports that came out about Matthew Vaughn's future plans for the Kingsman franchise. One of which involved a movie that would happen around the year 1900, about the early days of the Kingsman, right? And he gave it some sort of title, I can't remember what it was, but it was Kingsman something something, right? It's a prequel. It's a prequel, going back a couple hundred years, but there you are. So it's going back about 120 years, I guess, back to the 1900s. If that's Matthew Vaughn's next film, well, then Taron Egerton can't be a part of it because Eggsy is not born. And unless they're going to do time travel in Kingsman, which they will not do, then that kind of excludes Taron Egerton from being a part of it. Again, I think it's very key to note that he said, I'm not in the new Kingsman. He didn't say I'm not in Kingsman 3. So what I think is the most likely scenario here is that the next Kingsman movie that happens, if it happens, and it's not a guarantee it will, but if the next Kingsman movie happens, it's not going to be Kingsman 3, it's going to be that prequel. Okay, let's go back to the original question, though, about can a Kingsman movie without Taron Egerton work? With declining box office, and really, Kingsman 2 didn't decline that much at the box office. It declined a lot in quality, though. That's the biggest problem. Kingsman 2 is a bad film. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, well, that was okay. I mean, it wasn't as good as Kingsman 1, but it was still okay. But then I watched it again. I'm like, no, it's not okay. Kingsman 2 is a bad movie. It's a bad movie. I mean, it's all subjective. You may disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But to me, I watch it, and you guys know how much I love the first Kingsman. I lost my mind for the first Kingsman movie. That was great. Kingsman 2 was a bad movie. I'm not saying it was a steaming pile of garbage. I'm not saying it was the worst film of the year. I'm not saying anything like that, but it was bad. It just wasn't a quality film. And I got to admit, my interest in the Kingsman franchise waned heavily, seriously, after that. So number one, am I interested in another Kingsman? Mediocre. But am I interested in another Kingsman without the best part, or the two best parts of the Kingsman franchise, which is Taron Egerton and Colin Firth? They're the main reasons this franchise works. So am I interested in a Kingsman at all? Come see, come saw. Am I interested in one without Taron Egerton? I got to admit, my interest drops a lot. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think a Kingsman movie set in the 1900s, I mean, obviously without its lead cast, and especially in light of how kind of lacking in quality Kingsman 2 was, do you think it'll work? Would you still be excited for it? Let me know what you think, guys. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on to the next email today. And the next email today comes to us from Jeff Steinbeck, who writes, "Hey, John, hope you are having a good week." I am having a good week, Jeff. Thanks for asking. "I've been thinking, since Venom was successful and Sony is moving forward with their Venomverse, what are the chances that with Morbius and Craven films will help pave the way to a Sinister Six film? I know they aren't part of that lineup in the comics, but we do know for a while they were trying to get the film up and off the ground. Thanks, and keep up the good work." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Jeff. And sure, a lot of people have been wondering, and it's kind of understandable that we would wonder, could Sony be building towards a Sinister Six film? Look, you're right. There was one point in time where they were like pedal to the metal, full blast, trying to get a Sinister Six film put together. We know that. It's ultimately what really ruined The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Because all The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a giant, desperate attempt to set up a Sinister Six film. I mean, that's really what it was at the end of the day. And look, I don't think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is as bad as some other people think, but it was clearly a massive step down from the first Amazing Spider-Man, which I thought was great. And the second one, big step down. Big step down. So the question is, now that we've got Venom, and now that we've got Morbius is going to be shooting here pretty soon, Jared Leto's going to be playing the living vampire. Now that we've got Craven the Hunter, and there's still a little bit of a Spider-Man question mark in the air, even though I think the success of Venom means Sony will leave Spider-Man over in the MCU because they realize they don't need him at this point. Could they now still be holding on to these ideas of a Sinister Six film? I'm going to say no. It's possible, but I'm going to say no for two important reasons. Important reason number one, if you look at this lineup, Venom was really an anti-hero, right? He's really an anti-hero. Venom was the hero of that movie. Is Morbius at times a villain in the comics? Yes, but at times he's also an anti-hero. And I really believe they're going to be doing Morbius on the big screen like they did Venom. He's actually going to be the hero. And while we don't have any details on Craven the Hunter, I actually believe that Craven the Hunter is going to be handled the same way. I think Craven the Hunter is going to be the hero of his film. An anti-hero, maybe, yes, but I think he's going to be the hero of his own film. At least that's the plan. As long as Morbius doesn't flop. Because if Morbius flops, well, that'll probably kill Craven the Hunter. So, just on that basis alone, you're not putting Venom not in this movie universe. You're not putting Venom in the Sinister Six. You're not putting Morbius, because none of them are sinister. They're anti-heroes. So, I'm not saying Sony will never do a Sinister Six movie, but I'm saying I don't believe this particular lineup of characters that we've had at all suggests that a Sinister Six film is what they're aiming for right now. I just don't think it, because they're not painting them as the villains. The second reason why I don't think that's what they're doing is Sony took a big punch in the mouth with their whole Sinister Six attempt. From critics, from fans, they took a big punch in the mouth. And I've got to believe, look, when you look at Venom, the movie Venom, you can tell Sony learned a lot of lessons from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 fiasco. Because they didn't use Venom to do any world building. They didn't use Venom to build franchises. They didn't use Venom to just set up another movie. They kept the focus of Venom on Venom. Huge lesson learned from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. If they learned that lesson, I also believe they learned their other lesson about Sinister Six. I got to believe they also learned a lesson about that. Not that Sinister Six can't work, but the whole idea of let's build up to Sinister Six, I think they learned their lesson from that last Amazing Spider-Man movie, and I do not think they're going to do that again. So, two reasons I don't think they're building up towards a Sinister Six right now. Number one, the characters that they've got on docket right now, I don't think they're going to use them as villains. Number two, I think they learned an important lesson from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm not saying it's impossible, but those are the two reasons why I don't think that's what they're building towards right now. But maybe you guys disagree. What do you think? Do you think Venom, Morbius, Craven. Do you think these guys lay the foundation for a Sinister Six movie, or do you agree with me that that's not what they're doing? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that out of the way, let's go on to the third email today. And the third email today comes to us from Alex Pitt, who writes, so the report out there right now is that Paddington 3 is in the works, but that Paul King, who is the director and one of the co-writers of Paddington 1 and 2, probably won't return to direct it. As a massive fan of the first two films, this makes me excited, but also nervous that it won't live up to its predecessor. Your thoughts? Okay, for those of you who did not hear the news that came out a couple of days ago, the producers of Paddington are saying they are working on a Paddington 3 right now, which is just amazing. Because the first two Paddington films, screw you if you think they're just little kiddie films, they are magnificent movies. Paddington 1 and Paddington 2 are magnificent movies. However, it looks like Paul King won't be back to direct. Now, the producer also went on to say that Paul King is involved right now in putting the story together and getting the treatment together. He probably won't write the script, but he is working on the treatment and setting up the story. He'll probably act as a producer on it as well. So he will be involved. So I agree with you. On the one hand, it does make me a little bit nervous to find out that the main mastermind who directed and co-wrote Paddington 1 and 2 isn't there. That's concerning. Hearing that he is still actively involved in setting it up and getting the story in place, that's a little bit more reassuring. So, yeah, I'm excited about Paddington 3 because the first two were so damn good, and you got the same producers and you got the guy who directed it setting up the story. So I believe there's a lot there to be excited about. Now, look, people laugh at me and they guffaw at me when I say this, but I say this with full confidence and with no apology. I have said for a long time, if Paddington 3 ever gets made, and it's even close to the quality of Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, I am not saying it becomes the greatest film trilogy of all time, but what I am saying is it's in the conversation. It's in the conversation. It may not be the best trilogy of all time, but it's in the conversation. Paddington 1 was a revelation. Like, I've told the story before, but I remember me and John Schnepp went to go see that, and we both kind of felt the same way. Looks a little cheesy. We both came out of that movie. I remember we came out and we were just like, that was amazing. Like, we couldn't believe how good Paddington 1 was. And guess what, guys? Paddington 2 is the highest rated film in Rotten Tomatoes history. You heard that right. Paddington 2 is the highest rated film in Rotten Tomatoes in cinematic history. Now, here's how they measure that. Remember, Rotten Tomatoes isn't saying it's the best film in history. That's not what they're saying. But as far as how many critics say it's good, 100% across the board. Not a single film critic out of the 211 film critics that they polled on this, not a single one gave Paddington 2 a negative review. Now, you might be saying, but John, there are a couple of other 100% movies on Rotten Tomatoes. What makes Paddington the number one rated on Rotten Tomatoes? So what they do is they take all the films that have 100%. There's not many of them, but they take the films that have 100%, and then the highest rated one is the one that has the most reviews. So, for instance, I believe like Toy Story 2 also has 100%, but it has like 164 reviews. So the more critics that you count, the harder and harder it is to keep that 100%, because all it takes is one critic to give it a bad review, and you lose your 100% rating. So Paddington 2 is one of the few films on Rotten Tomatoes that actually has 100%. And it has, out of all the 100% movies, it has more reviews than anybody else. So that's the most difficult thing to achieve. So again, they're not saying it's the best movie ever. They're just saying that out of all the critics who saw it, every single film critic in the business gave it a positive review. So Paddington 1 is amazing. Paddington 2 is freaking amazing and the highest critically rated film on Rotten Tomatoes history. If Paddington 3 can come out and be within 10% of Paddington 1 and 2, I'm sorry, you have to have a legitimate conversation that Paddington becomes instantly in the top 5 greatest trilogies ever. And it's in that conversation. So a lot of people laugh and guffaw at me. So yeah, is it concerning that King's not back to direct? Yes, it's concerning. But there is some reason for optimism knowing it's the same producing team and King is setting up the story. So it's a little bit of both. I, for one, cannot wait to see Paddington 3. I freaking love those first two movies. So anyway, what do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section and leave your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the fourth and final email of the day. The fourth email today comes to us from Adam Gibson, who writes, "The trailer for The Secret Life of Pets 2 dropped. The original wasn't perfect, but had some good moments. I enjoyed it more than I should have because I'm a fan of Louis C.K. A lot of people are. Patton Oswalt has taken over his role as Max. While Oswalt is a very talented and funny actor, I have a chubby, bald, ginger-shaped hole in my heart named Louis. Will Max's vocal recasting ultimately hurt or help the sequel, or will it go unnoticed?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, the first promos for The Secret Life of Pets 2 dropped. I'll tell you what, I like Secret Life of Pets. I liked it a lot. Now, granted, I'm a little predisposed to that because I am a pet owner. I've been a dog owner my whole life. I have 2 dogs right now that are downstairs as we speak. Lily and Shadow are downstairs waiting for Papa to come back downstairs and rub their belly. So I'm a big fan of the first one. I didn't think it was like one of the greatest animated films ever. No, but I got a real kick out of it. I thought it was quite good. Been looking forward to the sequel. Now, of course, the Louis C.K. stuff. I'm not going to go into it in depth, except to say Louis C.K. messed up. I'm not going to go to it in depth, and rightfully so, understandably so, and rightfully so. Illumination removed him from the sequel, and they've replaced him with Patton Oswalt, who is not just a great, funny comedian, but he is given one of the best animated films of all time. He already did the lead voice of. He was the voice of Ratatouille, he was the voice of the rat in Ratatouille, and he was great in that. So you're talking about replacing Louis C.K. with a guy with a great animation vocal background, and has the same kind of voice as Louis C.K. Not the same voice, but the same kind of voice. You know what I mean? Anyway. You watch these first couple of trailers, and they're cute. They're cute. I don't think they're anything special at this point, but I think they're cute. Is Louis C.K. not being there going to hurt the movie, help the movie, or will nobody notice? I think it will neither hurt the movie that he's not there, and I don't think it's going to help the movie that he's not there. The thing is, if he had been there, it would have become a massive distraction from the movie. Because if Louis C.K. was still doing the voice of Max, if Louis C.K. was still doing the voice of Max in this movie, that's all everybody would be talking about, is Louis C.K. pulling out his junk and giving some strokes in front of people who didn't really want him to do that in front of them. That's what the story would be. And understandably so. So I don't think having him there would have helped. I don't think not having him there hurts, but I think by not having him there, you avoided a very big potential problem. The real answer to your question about will it help, will it hurt, will nobody notice? The real answer is nobody's going to care. No one's going to care. The average film-going audience, number one, isn't even going to notice that the voice of Max is a little different. Most people aren't even going to notice. But on top of that, The Secret Life of Pets did not star Louis C.K. He went in for a few days and did some voice booth work, yes. He's not a particularly great voice actor. I like Louis C.K.'s comedy too, I do, but it's not like he's some great voice actor. It's not like he's Peter Cullen, whose voice is like just irreplaceable, It's not like he's got a James Earl Jones voice, or Jeremy Irons voice. So it's not like he's like one of the great vocal performers that his voice becomes all that important. It's simply not. And it's also not like Louis C.K. wrote the movie. He didn't. So I ultimately, at the bottom line is, I think most people are going to watch this. First of all, don't even realize Louis C.K. was even the voice in the first one. I don't think most people even know that. I think if you poll most movie fans, say, who did the voice of Max in Secret Life of Pets? I bet you most people wouldn't even be able to tell you it was Louis C.K. So I think the most viewers who are seeing the new trailers and stuff, I don't think they even notice that it's a different voice. So no, the true answer to your question is nobody's going to care. At least I know I don't care. But maybe you feel differently. Jump down the comment section and leave your thoughts. All right, guys, with that out of the way now, we are all done with the main topic. So let's go on and save some time here for some live questions. You guys have already been firing in a bunch of live questions. So let's go over to the live chat board and see what you guys have been talking about. And we're going to start things off here with Vrinder Singh, who writes, Superman in Exile. You mean Superman Exile? Anyway, Superman in Exile is a favorite storyline of mine from the late 80s comics. I would love to see that in live action, either on the big screen or TV. How about you, John? If I'm thinking of the right one, what I'm thinking about is Superman Exile, which it's so Superman kills 3, I believe they were Kryptonian criminals who were like destroying entire worlds, right? And he decides the only way to protect the universe from them is to kill them. So he kills them, but it eats him up that he did it, right? More stuff for everybody who says, Superman never kills. Yes, he does. Anyway, but it tore him up. It tore him up that he did it. If I remember right, then he goes off to some planet, and then you get like a World War Hulk situation where he's like now fighting in gladiator games and all this nonsense. Anyway, would I want to see that in television or live action movie? I don't know, Vrinder. I don't know that I would be with you on that one. I mean, I think look, as far as character study goes, it's a really interesting comic story, as long as I'm thinking of the right one, and I might not be thinking of the right one. But if I am thinking of the right one, it's a very interesting character piece on Superman and his struggles. Is that one of the stories that I think would translate well to the big screen? I don't know that it would. I don't know that it would, to be honest with you. So I certainly don't think it's one that if I was creating a top 10 list of Superman stories, comic stories that I'd like to see enacted in a live action environment, I don't think that would be one of the ones for me. But clearly it is for you, and maybe at some point they do it. Hell, with all the stuff going on in CW, we could have 8 Superman shows by the end of, 2023. So maybe you'll get your wish at some point. We'll have to find out. All right. Dim705 writes, please no more acronyms, pay up nerds. Yeah, I keep asking people, please don't write acronyms, because then I got to sit there and think. And remember, my mind is doing 50 different things at once. I'm answering questions. I'm controlling the live stream. I'm moving graphics. I'm rotating the bar. I'm trying to keep an eye on the live stream at the same time to make sure everything's going fine. And this is a little tricky. So then acronyms come in. So yes, I do usually ask people, don't write acronyms. And so, of course, Dim Sum follows up with IW, SOA, SN, MOS, BVS, SWGC. Guess the acronyms. Well, Infinity War, Sons of Anarchy. I don't know SN. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. I don't know SW. I don't know GC off the top of my head. So there you go. I hit some, I missed some. Chris Miner writes, my girlfriend and I celebrated our anniversary last night by watching Bohemian Rhapsody. Nice. Then going home to watch Nice double feature, Chris. Nice double feature. I like that. It's funny, have you or your girlfriend ever watched Bohemian? Because that would be a kick. Like if your girlfriend had never seen Wayne's World, to go and watch Bohemian Rhapsody and then go home and watch Wayne's World, that's a nice double feature. Especially if your girlfriend didn't realize that the record exec in Bohemian Rhapsody is indeed Mike Myers. That would be hilarious. But good double. I didn't even think about doing that, but that's a great idea, Chris. All right. Ben Hayusa writes, rewatch Dawn of the Dead, and it still holds up as the best zombie movie. Plus, I love the Disturbed. Yeah, Disturbed does some pretty cool stuff. Soundtrack with Down with the Same. Down with the sickness. I don't know any of the other words. In the end credits. To me, the best zombie movie is still Shaun of the Dead. And I understand you can make an argument that it's not a true zombie film. It's a comedy. I remember Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they coined Shaun of the Dead a rom-com zom, a romantic comedy with zombies. So it's a rom-com zom. So maybe some of you guys would not call it a true zombie movie, but for me and my money, if you're going to ask me the best zombie movie ever made, to me, it's still Shaun of the Dead, but Dawn of the Dead is great. Ben follows up with, and I am definitely up for a Paddington 3. As you said before, the first 2 were brilliant. If this third one is as good, we got another top movie trilogy. Oh, absolutely, Ben. I mean, I still can't believe how good. Listen, Paddington 1, it almost upsets me because Paddington and Paddington 2 have no business being that good. Like, seriously, they have no business being that good. It's almost frustrating. It's like, how are you this good? A Paddington movie? But a little toy bear where apparently nobody has any issues that a bear is wearing clothes and talking. Nobody in the world has a problem with this. That's what you build your movie around. It has no business being that good. And yet it is that good. It's really rather crazy. Guys, seriously, I get it if you haven't watched Paddington yet. I get it. It kind of looks like a kid's movie. Does not look like it's for me. I get it if you haven't seen it. But I am telling you, get a couple of friends together. Sit down and watch Paddington 1 or 2. You're going to love them. They're great. Like, ridiculously so, to the point that they have no business being that great. Check them out if you get a chance. Murray Reich writes, saw The Frontrunner. Ooh, I'm a little bit jealous. I have not had a chance to see that. Saw The Frontrunner, and it was pretty good. Hugh Jackman performance of Gary Hart was very good. I've never even heard about this before. I saw it, and it's mind-boggling how things have changed since then. Oh, it is crazy. It is crazy how much things have changed between then and now. Right? And by the way, the movie is directed by Jason Reitman. Good Canadian kid, son of Ivan Reitman, the other director. And Jason also directed Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Adult. He's directed a bunch of really great films. Did I say Up in the Air? I can't remember. Anyway, I love him as a director. But I remember I was just a kid when the whole Gary Hart thing was going on, right? For those of you who are a bit younger, you're going to watch Frontrunner and go, this guy's entire presidential campaign got derailed because of that? When you look at some people who are in power today and go, that's nothing compared to what's going on, and it doesn't even cause a hiccup for these jerk-offs, right, with a lot of the politicians today, it's mind-boggling, but it was a different time, you know? It's just, I think it's a reflection of that we've become so jagged that we have no expectations for our political leaders now. Like back then, we had real high standards for who our political leaders are. Yeah, we knew they were still screwing us over, but we still held them to a certain standard. And when they broke that standard, we rejected them. You break that standard, you do not deserve to be, at least that was the attitude at the time. Today, completely different. Completely different. Now, please understand what I'm about to say here, okay, guys? I do not like talking politics on this show because we're all movie fans. Regardless of whatever our political persuasion is, we're all movie fans. You have your political opinions, I have mine, but here, in this place, we're just all film fans together. So what I'm about to say, I do not mean it as a political statement. I only mean it as an example of the difference between the Gary Hart situation, like when you watch a movie like Frontrunner and today, right? So I'm not trying to make any political point. I'm just showing a juxtaposition about then and now. So understand that. Look at all the caveats I'm giving this, all the asterisks I'm trying to put up. Big disclaimer. But you go back to the 80s when Gary Hart was running. If there was a presidential candidate who was on his third wife, screwed porn stars, and then paid them off to keep quiet about it, denied they paid them off, and then got discovered that they actually did pay them off even though they denied it, and then they stopped denying it, that guy never would have been able to run for city council, let alone president. And you see that in this movie with Gary Hart. Like, if you understand what was going on with Gary Hart, and then you'll say, it's different. It's different. And it's not like it's just one politician today. There are a lot of screwed up politicians with a lot of skeletons in their closet. And back then, it would have been one thing. Today, it's like, well, whatever, no big deal. I mean, so it is really kind of funny when you watch this movie. And again, I haven't seen it yet, but I remember the situation. I remember the events that this movie's based on. And it's like night and day. I think there's going to be a lot of audiences today who are like in their 20s who are going to watch this movie, The Frontrunner, and go, this guy's presidential campaign got derailed because of this? Like, seriously. But at the time, it was a much bigger deal. But just because it's Jason Reitman and Hugh Jackman and it's based on true story, you're checking off a lot of boxes for me, so I cannot wait to see it. I'm a little bit envious, Murray, that you had a chance to watch it. Trey Gaming writes, Regal Cinemas is supposedly announcing something later today. Do you think it could be a service like A-List? Well, here's the thing. I keep trying to tell people this, and this is important to understand. You know, when A-List came out and AMC launched their A-List service, which is the best thing in movie going right now. I love this A-List thing. People would ask, well, do you think Regal's going to do something like that? And what I've always told people is, look, keep in mind, MoviePass did not start this whole movie membership thing. Cineworld did in the UK. The Cineworld theater chains have had their movie club thing for almost 10 years, getting close to a decade. They've been doing it forever. And guess who owns Regal now? Cineworld. Cineworld, who are the real godfathers of this whole thing, of this whole movie membership model and idea, long before MoviePass ever did it. Cineworld has been doing it for a long time with great success. And I've had many of you guys who watch this show from the UK constantly over the years writing to me and bragging about your Cineworld memberships, which have always made me very jealous. Well, guess what? As of a couple of years ago, Cineworld owns Regal now. So it's not a matter of will Regal have their own movie membership model. The only question is, when are they going to launch it? That's it. That's the only question. They're absolutely going to do one. No doubt about it. Could today be the day? Maybe. Maybe. What's great about it, though, is that now that A-List has some competition, whether it's today or next month or next year, whenever Regal launches their membership plan, now that there's going to be competition, it's going to keep both of them. They're going to keep each other in check. They're not, because if A-List suddenly decides sometime, you know what, we're just going to raise our prices to $40. Okay, then I'm going to go get the Regal one for $22. Thank you very much. You know, it's going to force them to keep in check. Competition's always good for the market. So I don't know if that's what they're announcing today. I hope it is. But even if it's not, don't you worry. It is coming. 100% guarantee it's coming at some point. All right. I'm Upset writes, worst Mike Myers film, Cat in the Hat or Love Guru? Oh, no doubt Love Guru. Cat in the Hat wasn't great. Cat in the Hat isn't even good. But it's not awful. Like, I thought it was not great, but it's not awful. Love Guru? Love Guru was so bad. And it was awful. And Mike, good Canadian kid, grew up like a half hour away from where I grew up, the whole bit. I love Mike. But Love Guru was awful. And it was so bad, it drove Mike Myers out of movies. He withdrew himself out of movies for the longest time. And it was that kind of backlash he got from it. I think it was very hurtful, and I think it sent him to a place. And only recently, in the last couple of years, you see him poking his head back up now and again. We need Mike Myers to come back. Movies need him. He's so good. But yeah, I got to go. Love Guru was easily his worst. Tucker Flynn writes, who plays you in the Campea biopic? Sean Austin? Man, if he was just a bit younger, I'd go Liam Neeson. I don't know why. People say Liam Neeson looks like me a lot, and vice versa. I look like Liam Neeson. Sean Austin, maybe. Sean Austin, yeah, that one could work for sure. It would be the most boring movie ever made, but sure, why not? Not because of Sean Austin, but because of the subject matter. Ben Sultan writes, if Static Shock is not going to be a movie, is it more likely we could see him in a CW show like Black Lightning? I think Black Lightning makes it difficult to do a Static Shock movie because there's a lot of similarities on the surface. Then again, I don't know. Then again, and by the way, if you're not watching Black Lightning, you totally should be. Then again, I mean, Flash has how many speedster characters? I mean, the last I checked, they had like 6 or 7 speedster characters running around. So, but they don't have individual shows. Like they don't have a Flash show and a Kid Flash show. They might be a little too similar in their personas, not their backstories. They're very different backstories, but I don't know. I'll say this, though. I think it is more likely that we get a Static Shock CW Static Shock than we do get a movie Static Shock, at least for right now. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, I just heard that another dine-in theater chain like Alamo and AMC have, called CMX Cinebistro, just opened up a location on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'll check it out one day. Dine-in theaters are great. I love them. They're just such a great experience. I've been to an Alamo Draft House one. I've been to an AMC dine-in. Love the experiences. Another one in LA. I think it's called Cine Lounge, actually. There's one in LA called Cine Lounge. That was great. I believe you see a lot of, maybe not huge chains, but I think there are many of these types of theaters, individual standalone theaters throughout the U.S. you can go and check out. All I'm going to say, if you've never done a dine-in theater, give it a shot. It's not a distracting experience like you might think it is. I remember the first time I went to an AMC dine-in theater, I was worried about push a button and a waiter comes in and takes your order. Isn't it going to be distracting having waiters coming in and out? That's what I thought. But it wasn't. It just blends in with the movie-going experience, and it was a really good experience. My problem is, until just recently, the closest AMC dine-in to me was in Marina Del Rey, which is like a 45-minute to an hour drive away. I'm not inclined to drive 45 minutes to an hour to go see a movie in LA traffic, especially when I have an AMC Burbank 16 right up the street from me. But recently they just opened one in Hollywood too. I have not gone to check it out yet, but I'm going to soon. So yeah, do check it out, Murray, by all means. Ben Sultan writes, also, quick question. What is your top 3 Fox films? For me, Avatar, Logan, I don't know. I would have to sit there and pull up a list of all the Fox films, go through the list. Not something I keep off the top of my head. Logan may be on the list. Longest Day and Avatar not, but Logan might be on that list possibly because I did think it was the best film of 2017. I think it's a top 3 greatest comic book movie of all time, but again, I'd have to have a list of films in front of me. It's not something I can pull off the top of my head. Sorry about that, Ben. Tucker Flynn writes, over or under, Ezra Miller doesn't appear in another Justice League, 25%. Oh, I'll take the over on that. I think it's a greater than 25% chance that he does not appear in another Justice League film. Notice I'm not saying over 50%. If I had to put $5 on it, I would bet that he does appear in another Justice League film. But if you're going to set the number as low as 25%, I'll take the over on that. Rami J. Royster writes, it's frustrating to me to see there's still no clear direction for where the DCEU is going. I'm still excited for the upcoming movies, but hearing all the negative backstage news, I'm left confused. Well, I mean, I get where you're coming from, Rami. I do. Believe me, I do. At the same time, though, let's put this into perspective. Walter Hamada is the new sheriff in town at DC. We've yet to see his first movie. He has a plan and a direction where they want it to go. But do we want him to come out and tell us what the plan is? I don't. Is it frustrating not knowing? Absolutely it is. But really, at the end of the day, do we really want him to come out and tell us where they're going? Doesn't that ruin a lot of stuff? I would rather go and see Aquaman and see Shazam and start to have it revealed to us where they're going. I'd rather discover where it's going than to have the studio head come up and say, hey, by the way, guys, so we're doing this in Aquaman, and then this and this are going to happen in Shazam, and then this and this and this is going to happen in Wonder Woman, which is going to set up this, and this later. I don't want him to do that. I completely relate with your frustration. I do. But as of right now, we have not really seen anything come out under the new Walter Hamada era. And you can make an argument that Aquaman itself even won't be that big of an indication because Aquaman was already kind of in process by the time Walter Hamada took over. So it may be until 2020, after Wonder Woman 84 comes out, that we really start to get a picture about what Walter Hamada's DC universe is going to look like. So I agree with you on the frustration on the one side of my head, but on the other side of my head, but do we really want to know right now? Do we want them to just come out and lay it out for us? Or do we want to go and have it revealed to us the way it was meant to be revealed to us through narrative and through the stories of the movies? And remember before, DC has done the whole, let's tell everybody what's coming. Here's our list of 45 movies coming, and now 90% of them have been scrapped. So what's the point in doing that, right? I mean, we've been burned by that before, multiple times. So I get the frustration, but I'm totally fine with it to just wait, because Aquaman's almost here, guys. Just a little over a month away. Just a little over a month away. And we're going to start to watch the movies, and we're going to start to get a picture about what the DC direction is. And I think that's the best way for us as fans to get it. So that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? All right. Jaron Morris writes, sadder life and Supernatural, Sam or Dean? Ooh, that's tough, man. I mean, both of them were in hell. Well, to some degree or another. Dean spent, I think, a year in hell. But Sammy was trapped in the cage with Michael and Lucifer tearing him apart for, I can't remember how long he was in there for. They've both lost people they loved. Sammy lost his soul for a while. Dean has been possessed. I mean, life has dealt both of these characters a lot of bad hands, man. A lot of terrible, terrible stuff has happened to both of them together and individually. So it's tough to say. It's pretty much a tie, Jaron. It's pretty much a tie. Let's see here. Durvar writes, what? He was the best thing about Kingsman movies. What a shitty deal. Well, I mean, but again, Durvar, what else are they going to do? If they are doing that movie they talked about, where it's a Kingsman prequel set in the 1900s, then it makes sense. But I agree with you. I mean, I share your a little bit of pessimism, if you will, because, I mean, he's the best part. Him and Colin Firth are the best things about this movie. Can they do ones without them? Maybe, maybe not. I'm still not 100%, by the way, I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to get any more Kingsman movies. I know they're talky about it. They're talking, oh, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. We've seen that song and dance 100 times before. It could happen, but I'm still not convinced. Durbar follows it up with, the Austin Power trilogy is still hilarious. Completely agree. It holds up. Totally holds up. I love the Austin Powers thing, man. I really want Mike Myers to come back and do another Austin Powers film so badly. It'll be sad not to have Mini-Me, but you just got to do it. I want to see another one so bad. The little nerdy birdie writes, so happy to catch you live today. It's so much easier when my boss isn't in the office. Keep up the great work. Oh, thanks a lot, little nerdy birdie. I'm glad you could be here today, and just keep the volume low and put in some headphones. All right. Ryan Irwin Deal writes, what exactly went wrong with The Dark Tower? Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask. Some people liked it. I honestly didn't think it was horrible. Yeah, so I mean, look, you're asking a question for us to go into some in-depth analysis on the thing, and we just don't have time to do that right now, but it really depends on who you're asking. Some people will say they try to cram too much into too small of a space. Some people say they just went the wrong direction with the characterizations of these characters. Some people say they focused on the wrong elements from the stories when they could have focused on other ones. I mean, it really all depends who you ask, but then again, some people, you might ask that to some people and they'll say nothing went wrong with it. It was perfectly fine. So I don't have really a lot of time to go into it in much more detail than that. Tyler Yeats writes, the best part of my past few days has been watching your show while playing Red Dead 2. Well, thanks so much. I'm glad we could be here and be a part of that. Hey, by the way, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but the newest episode of The Weekly Hero did go up last night. It's on my YouTube channel. Go check it out and enjoy. Robert Meyer Burnett is so awesome on that show. Durvar follows up with, The Dark Tower would probably have been more suited for a miniseries than a movie. Maybe. I mean, I usually reject the notion that something is more... I mean, sometimes I feel this way, sometimes I reject it. That a story is more inclined towards a movie or a TV show. Or wait, look, you can tell a good story, period. It's... At the end of the day, you're given a story, make it good. In whatever medium you're using. Whether it's a miniseries, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a movie, go. Just make it good. Adapt it the way you need to adapt it to make it work as a miniseries, as a TV show, as a movie, but go ahead and do it. So it's really hard to say. I personally don't think any of the shortcomings of the Dark Tower movie had anything to do with the fact that it was a movie. I tend to lean more towards the choices they made on which things to focus on and the way they handled the characterizations of certain elements. To me, that was the problem with the movie. But yeah, it's really up to the individual viewer, I guess. Durbar Falls up again. We get the warhead and we hold the world ransom for $1 million. Obviously one of the all-time great Austin Powers quotes. $1 million. Wonderbar one more time. Watch Bohemian Rhapsody Wednesday. It was great. I really enjoyed it. And the critic rating on it just went up and up and up. Like the first time, hold a second. The first time I looked up critic ratings for Bohemian Rhapsody was at like 49%. I think it was like the first time I looked it up. It's like, oh, wow. But then I checked, it's gone all the way up to 60. So it's continued to go up. So that means the majority of film critics like it. The majority of film critics like it. At 60%, it's now got that tomato symbol. So, but there were a bunch of critics that didn't too, but the majority of them do. I personally thought it was wonderful. I had a great time with that movie. I had a really good, enjoyable time with that movie. I'm glad you saw it, Wunderbar, and I'm glad you liked it too. Punto Baby 1 writes, The Predator was ass. Yes, it was. Very disappointing. Also, I enjoy Predator 2 as much as the original. Really? You're unique. Anyways, thanks for all your hard work. Sir Filthy a lot. Well, thanks a lot. And you know what? But that's the beautiful thing about films, man. I've got a few movies that people would look at me and say, you like that? That's fine. But that's what movies fans are, man. We like what we like. Now, to me, Predator 2 is a huge step down. But, Punto Baby, I actually know, now that I think about it, I've got another friend of mine who actually really likes, I don't think he likes it more than the first Predator, but I've got another friend of mine who just loves Predator 2. I did not, but hey, whatever, but you're absolutely right, man. This newest Predator broke my heart. I was so excited about that movie. Shane Black directing it. I thought for sure this was going to be good. For sure this is going to be good. Was absolutely not good. So, yeah, that's too bad. PJ Barnes writes, Mount Rushmore superhero animated films. Batman Mask of the Phantasm, yes. Batman Under the Red Hood, yeah. Lego Batman, Teen Titans Go, you got to see it. Yeah, I still haven't seen Teen Titans Go. I would probably put up there, well, first of all, only one of them is a real animated film. Like only one of those films, or two of those films, I should say, actually got theatrical release. And that was Mask of the Phantasm and Teen Titans Go. And Teen Titans Go flopped. But everybody who saw it says they really like it. If you're going to include the straight-to-home video movies, I would also include in there, I would take out Under the Red Hood, although I really like Under the Red Hood. It's one of the few animated straight-to-home video movies that superhero movies that I like. I would replace that with The Dark Knight Returns. And I think there should be room in there for the only Marvel one I've really liked, which was the Doctor Strange one. I thought the Doctor Strange one was very good. So, so interesting list. Hammer Daddy Gaming writes, have you seen the new Netflix film Operation Finale? Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley, The Hunt for Nazi War Criminals. It's quite good. Well, in the United States, it got released in theaters. It got a theatrical release. And I skipped it, to be honest. Even though I love that cast, I'm going to be watching soon. But I'm hearing good things about it, but I didn't watch it. Dominic Chilichowski writes, last week I watched Paddington and I loved it. Can't wait to watch the second one. And fingers crossed for a third one. Keep up the good work, Mr. Campea. I'm so jealous, Dominic, that you haven't watched the second one yet. I tell you guys this all the time. I always feel jealous for people who get to watch a movie for the first time. Because I will never get to watch Paddington 2 for the first time ever again. You only get to do it once. And I'm really jealous. So enjoy, man. Enjoy. Let's see. NPE. Oh, where do we go? Okay. NPE writes, And we're just about out of time here, guys, so I'm just going to race through these final number of questions. NPA94 writes, so I fell asleep during the credits of an 11 p.m. UK showing of Mike Leigh's Peterloo and woke up 30 minutes later to find multiplex dark and empty with doors locked. Had to exit through a McDonald's nearby. Seriously? Like, do they not send staff through following a screening to clean up? That's ridiculous. Did they just decide to work around you? That's something straight out of a 1980s comedy movie. Night at the movie theater, where the movie posters come to life. So kind of like a night at a museum takeout. That's ridiculous, dude. That is ridiculous. And you didn't send off any alarms? That's crazy that happened. I can't even imagine that happening here. I just can't imagine that. That's crazy. He follows up with, out of all big budget films that are coming out in the week up to Christmas, if you were a studio exec, which one would you move to 2019 and why? Oh, any of them. Any of them. I would move any of them. I just really believe that any of those films will do better if they moved. Any of them would. I think Aquaman will do better if it moves. I think Bumblebee will do better if it moves. I think Welcome to Marwen will do better if it moves. Although Welcome to Marwen is very counter-programming, so there's an argument you could leave that one there. Same thing with Holmes and Watson. It's a very different movie from some of the other bigger ones there, so maybe those ones you can leave in their place. Although Holmes and Watson doesn't look very good. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is getting a jump. It's one of the first ones to come out. So, yeah, that one's probably fine. I know. The ones I would really focus on are probably the two biggest ones. Because the two biggest ones are the ones who stand to gain the most from moving. And that would be Aquaman and Bumblebee. To me, those are the two. And I've talked ad nauseum about Aquaman. But Aquaman and Bumblebee, I believe, are the two films that stand to benefit the most if they moved. Mary Poppins is another one I would consider moving, but the family kind of nature of the movie at Christmas time, it's a little bit better suited to that season than, say, an Aquaman or a Bumblebee or a Mortal Engines or whatever. But again, I still think that the two films that stand to gain the most from moving are Aquaman and Bumblebee. All right. Santez Henderson writes, Bohemian Rhapsody is getting a spin-off about how Freddie and the crew did the Flash Gordon theme song. I can't wait. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Or how they did the soundtrack to Highlander. That's one of the reasons why I love Highlander so much. The music in Highlander is so damn good. The music in Highlander, who wants to live forever? Like, when you understand what the Highlander is about, perfect music for that movie, man. Perfect. Maximum Effort 44T writes, I flew Denver to San Diego to see Star Wars The Last Jedi with friends. That's pretty good. Was it an advanced screening? Because that's pretty good. Or did you just do it so you could watch it with friends? That's even better. For somebody to fly across country, or at least mid-country, just so I could watch it with a certain group of people, that's pretty special, man. And that's the things we film fans will do. Nice story, Maximum. All right, Pelican Mike writes, John, saw Whiplash the other day. Wow, J.K. was great. And J.K. Simmons, of course, he won the Academy Award for that movie. Under the direction of not Damien Chazelle, the guy who just directed First Man and directed La La Land. Why am I freezing on his name? Is it Damien Chazelle? Maybe that is the name of the director. Damien Chazelle. I'll just go with that. Directed by the same guy who directed La La Land and directed First Man. It's fantastic. And yes, J.K. won the Academy Award for that. Fully deserved it for that. It's a great viewing experience. All right. Final question of the day comes us again from Pelican Mike, who writes, you want a staff job and you want a staff job and you want a staff job. Anybody care what I want? I do. Shut up, get out. Can't remember. Yep, don't know that one off the top of my head. Sorry about that, Pelican Mike. You stumped me on that one. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Once again, don't forget the new episode of The Weekly Hero is now up online on my YouTube channel. You can go check it out there. Don't forget, we will be back again tomorrow, hopefully in the new studio. We are, guys, oh my God. The audio problems I'm having in my studio is crazy. Now, some of you may say, but John, you just did the Weekly Hero from the studio and it sounded great. Yeah, because we didn't do it live. I was able to record the audio on something separately and then edit it together, and that's why I went up last night. Doing the John Campea Show live, we're having problems getting the proper audio to do live. And we worked on it yesterday. As soon as I wrap up here, I'm hopping in the car, driving back over to the studio. Ray and Jonathan are already down there working furiously. We're putting in a new soundboard today just to see if we can get it going. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that tomorrow's John Campea Show will be from the new studio so we can get back in there. I just, I decided to do it from home for a while because you guys deserve our best. And while we were giving you the best video, we were not giving you guys the best audio. And you guys deserve the best audio. You expect more than that from us. We owe you more than that. And hopefully we'll get that all wrapped up today. And if not, then hopefully Monday we'll be back in with that. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a magnificent rest of your day. Go check out that Weekly Hero stuff with Robert. He's just amazing. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea. And until the next video, bye-bye.